A new quarterback gets his chance to showcase his skills. We talked to Max Grizel after a big win against Green Canyon. Also, the highlight of the entire football season so far. We talked to Carson Baines following his highlight reel punt return. And finally, there are few bonds stronger than the one between an athlete and his coach. We talked to gold medalist Ted Ligety along with his coach Dar Hendrickson right now on the Scoreboard. Hey everyone, welcome into the Scoreboard. Don't go anywhere because today's episode is absolutely stacked. We've got full coverage of the Green Canyon versus Park City football game on Friday night, the big blowout win to move the Miners to 3-0. But not just that, we also talk to a gold medalist in just a little bit. You don't want to miss it. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back here on the Scoreboard. Well, after years on the varsity squad, Max Grizel really had his number called on Friday night. Not only did he have the most reps he's ever had at the varsity level, but he also had to deal with the injury of his close friend and starting quarterback, Chase Beyer. Here's myself and Max following the big game.
Hey everyone, right now we are hanging out with Max Grizel following the big win over Green Canyon. And Max, I think the first thing we got to talk about is the injury to Chase Beyer. Could you just tell us a little bit about what happened and what transpired here in the fourth quarter?
Yeah, so I didn't see too much from my point of view. It was hard to see from where I was standing on the sideline, but it's obviously something that you never love to see. It's part of football. You know, our coach was telling us it's part of football. You got to keep your heads up and continue playing and doing your thing. But it's tough because, you know, as a friend of Chase, it's never fun to see that.
Oh, absolutely not. And on top of that, his brother Braden playing as well on both sides of the ball. Have you been able to talk to Braden at all? Have you been able to check in on him?
I haven't really talked to him yet. I was trying to find him after, but I'm gonna have to find him after this and you know tell him that I don't know. You know, I'm gonna talk to him and kind of tell him that he has my prayers and stuff like that. So
when it comes to you now, Chase went down and was down for a very long time, wasn't moving a whole lot. It's probably likely that you're going to start now at the quarterback position. What are some of the things that you're going to have to do now to step up into that big role?
Well, I think first and foremost, I think it's just like being a leader out there. I think being vocal. I've never been kind of vocal. I stepped into the quarterback position my sophomore year. That was my first year playing it, and I went from wide receiver to quarterback, and so I kind of did my own thing for a while. And so now kind of having to have right body language and lead the team and pick up the team in hard moments like what we experience now, which I don't think I actually did a great job of tonight, but I think moving forward that's a key component to us winning games and having success on the field is just me being able to show leadership.
Obviously, if Chase is out, he's still going to be around the team. You're going to be able to talk to him and things like that. Are you going to go to him? Are you going to make sure to check in with him, see how he leads the team, see the things that he's done, and kind of take note from him?
Oh, for sure. I think Chase as a leader, I would say he's a phenomenal leader. I think since I got here, I've kind of noticed, a lot of, he's a guy that people, our wide receivers, our linemen, our coaches, he's kind of like an extension of the coaching staff in a way, and I kind of noticed that. And so I think that's definitely something that I can work on and I need to work on. And so I think it's awesome to have a guy like that who's been in the position, who's had a ton of reps, who's started tons of games and knows what to do and kind of knows how to keep the team rolling, because he's had some phenomenal comebacks and some, the Beyer bomb 2 years ago. And so that kind of stuff just shows to how great of a leader he has been. And so I think I can pull from that too, just being around him for sure.
Let's talk a little bit about those reps. Today you get more reps than you've ever had at the varsity level. How did you feel out there? I know you kind of mentioned that you feel like you didn't play great, but you did have a touchdown pass. You did march down the field a couple of times. How do you feel you did?
Well, I think I actually played, okay for my first start. Obviously, there's things to clean up. I felt like I had some close calls over the middle. Should have left one of our receivers, kind of left it short, and it got picked off. But I think overall, for my first kind of varsity, like true, live rep kind of action, I think it was pretty good and it was solid, and I'm happy because I think I can build on it and progress a lot.
Talking about progression, let's talk about next week. You've got East Region starts. How do you feel that game plays out?
First and foremost, I think we're going to go 4-0. There's no doubt. But I think also, I think it's going to be, quite honestly, I think it could be a dogfight. We beat them last year. They don't like us a lot. So it's going to be a very interesting battle. But I think, I'm just gotta get ready, get mentally prepared for that, because I think we have every physical, attribute we need, both offense and defense, and I think it's just about like getting mentally right to play a game like that away in their house. So.
Last question from me. I kind of wanted to talk about that. The offense is playing well. The defense is playing well. This team is playing the best they've played in the last 4 years when you guys ended up being the runner-ups at state. So I want to ask you just how good is this team, and how good do you think this team can be given, couple weeks out, 6 weeks out, when you're going towards the state championship and things like that?
Well, I think we are a team that I think we're very capable of surprising people. I told my coach before the season started that we're going to win it all, and I truly believe that we have everything we need to win it all. And like I said, it's just about like focusing up and having the right mindset and not letting hard moments and lows kind of get in the way of that end goal, because we have everything we need to win state.
Well, you're already 3-0. You're already surprising people. Max Grizel, catch him next week at East High School, starting quarterback. Congratulations. Great job today. Hey everyone, right now we are hanging out with Carson Baines following a big-time game, a big-time win over Green Canyon. Carson, how are you feeling right now?
Good. Yeah, it was a good win. Our team came together well, and it was a fun game.
Yeah, it's kind of a somber note. We just talked to Max as well, and it's difficult when your starting quarterback goes down. I'm curious of your initial reaction to what happened.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I was super concerned. That's one of my best friends as well. So obviously, the whole team is very concerned for him. We're hoping he'll be okay, and I think he'll be back this season.
Hopefully he will be back this season, but for right now, you've got Max Grizzle, who's probably going to be starting next week against East. How do you feel like he played today?
I think he played great. He came in. This was his first game playing varsity, and he handled it great. He was throwing dimes. So, yeah, I think he'll be great.
A really solid effort by everyone. I mean, the offense is playing well. The defense is playing stellar. What can you say about this defense? Because it seems to be the best defense you've had in a long time, considering that you've lost so many good guys as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've lost a bunch of guys. We had some returners as well. A lot of us have been playing all through youth, so we know what it's like to play together. Everyone just flies with the ball, and it's just a super aggressive defense, but we just got to, try and keep staying disciplined.
I got to say, Carson, I've actually buried my lead here. The number one thing that we got to talk about is that incredible punt return you had. Can you talk us through what happened there in the first half?
Yeah, so I knew their punter was pretty good, so I knew he could kick it far and I'd have a chance to return one. So I saw it, I got it. There was one dude on the edge, I got around him, and I was going for the sideline. They kind of over-pursued. I saw a little seam to the right, and I just took it, and I knew it was a foot race till then, and I knew I could win.
I talked to Coach Montzingo right before the season started, before Wasatch, and I asked him to describe you in one word, and he said fast. I think you've got to be the fastest player out here on the football field. Is that what you felt when you were just passing everybody getting to that punt return?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I knew if it was a foot race, I'd win. So I knew when I saw some open grass, I'd take it to the crib. I also want to shout out my teammates for the great blocks on that punt as well.
There was some incredible blocking as well on that play. I wanted to ask you a little bit about this team, just what your initial thoughts are, because last year you're already off to such an incredible start. I just want to ask you how you feel like this team is looking right now going into week 4.
Yeah, our team's super close. We're super confident, obviously. We're feeling good. We've had 3 good games, 3 good teams, but, our schedule is only going to get harder, so we just got to keep improving each week. Our defense is clicking well. Our offense is starting to click, which is nice. yeah, so we just got to keep working every week and just take it one game at a time.
Are there going to be some big stylistic adjustments on the offensive side of the ball because of Chase being out now?
No, not really. We'll have the same style of offense. We rep them both in practice, so the receivers know both Chase and Max. They play a little differently, but, they're both great quarterbacks, and they can both run the offense super well.
I also just wanted to check in on the hamstring. After the punt return, you got a little tight. I actually saw you talking to Coach Yoakum, your track and field coach. Just wanted to check in on that. How are you feeling?
Pretty good. It tightened up pretty well, but, I'll be back next week, and I'll be good to go.
Carson Baines, one of the fastest players on the football field coming near you. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hey everyone, right now we are joined by two very special people here in Park City. It's Dar Hendrickson as well as Ted Liggety. Thank you both so much for being here. We really appreciate it.
It's our pleasure.
Yeah,
My
thanks.
pleasure, anyway.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Well, we kind of came up with this idea because we thought to ourselves, well, obviously, Ted, you have such an illustrious career, but as close as any relationship is, it's an athlete to a coach. I mean, it's unbelievable the things that both of you have probably been through together. And so we kind of just wanted to talk about the career that both of you have had together and kind of talk about all sorts of different stuff. So I guess the first thing is, Ted, how are things going? First of all, how are things going post-retirement, things like that?
Yeah, I've been retired from ski racing for just about a year and a half now, and it's good. It's nice, not having to go to the gym and like slog away all summer and be able to enjoy Park City more, especially during the wintertime, and hang out with the kids and all those things that I was missing a little bit being on the road. It's nice to be able to spend more time at home.
Yeah, and Dar, for you, what have things been like? I know Ted is retired, but what have you been up to in terms of skiing and coaching and things
Well,
like that?
I still march forward, otherwise known as the plow horse. Maybe not as fast as I used to be, but still out there skiing with the kids on a regular basis. Friday afternoons we go out to the UOP, and Saturday, Sundays we're at the Park City Mountain, and that starts early December and goes right through middle April or somewhere about there.
It's super exciting that it's all starting up again so quickly.
Yeah,
I mean, it's already here. So
it's hard to believe.
You mentioned that working with kids and things like that. When did you meet Ted, and how did that all get started?
Well, the reality is I get the kids that when they're 9 or 10, and I think Ted tried out and didn't even make the team as a 9.
I was going to throw that in there if you didn't throw that in there. Yeah,
Right,
a little
so, I mean,
jab.
It's not
Didn't make
jab,
Devos.
It's not jab. There's a lot of kids that, and we maybe were a little more 10-year-old centric at the time, and and just he kept persevering, kept trying, and he came back second year, and he was just a fun kid to have on the team. He sprayed me once when I was buckling my boots, and do you remember that?
Yeah, I didn't do that again.
But there was another kid there. He started laughing, and I gave him a shove, and I said, "Stop it!" Right, yeah.
Well, Ted, so it looks like kind of almost like a Michael Jordan-esque story. You didn't make a team, it looks like, and then what happened from there? Did you have to start training more, or what happened from there, I guess?
Yeah, so I didn't make Dar's team at the first time around, but I love skiing and just ski racing, just ripping around the mountain. I think what's like awesome about like Dar's group is like, yes, you're on the Park City ski team, which is a racing team, but like, I don't know, I can't even count how many days we trained there. Probably not very many. Like we were mostly just ripping around the mountain, like charging. Like you learn like how hard you can push yourself and like straight lining down things or, jumping off all the jumps there. Dar has like these little mental models of all the records off every jump. And so like, we're always like trying to beat those. And every time you land or don't land, you're like looking to him to see if it was like a new record. And that's just like super fun. So like, that was what is like so amazing about Dar's group is it's not just like about trying to like ski fast in gates. It's about like trying to like grow up on the mountain and like learn how to push your limits and have more fun out there.
Well, very clearly, like, you're so passionate about it, and of course, 5-time world champion, 2-time gold medalist, and things like that. Dar, what was it about Ted that separated him from the pack?
I don't really think it was much until he was a little older.
Yeah.
I mean, the reality is, I think your mother had told me a story. It was the Eric Hayes race at the beginning of the year where you were starting probably 160, no points, came home, and the girls had already run. It was on payday. He came home. And he said after that, his mother told me he changed. Something clicked in him that he didn't like being so far back, but the reality was that's where you start in ski race. You start at the back and you work your way up, And that's how it goes. And those kids that decide to persevere and stick with it and not let the downfalls get to them are those that are successful.
And Ted, was it kind of just you were tired of not being one of the best, or what was it? What was it that made you want to kind of flip a switch, I guess I should say?
Well, I had this passion for ski racing, but I wasn't really good until I was probably 17 years old. I mean, I was okay regionally, but I'd get beat by other kids in the Park City ski team that are my same age, given he was one of the best in the world at his age, but he'd beat me by 7 to 10 seconds a race. I'd just be nowhere out there. But I still had the love and the drive for it, and so I worked hard at it. And as I got more physically mature, and I think also one of the things was that not being good at that middle teenage years allowed me to experiment and play with my skiing more than I would have if I was trying to stay on this track of being this high level racer. I probably wouldn't have allowed myself to experiment and play as much as I did on skis. And so being kind of in a nowhere zone was liberating in that sense, and I think that ended up paying off later.
I kind of want to switch gears a little bit and talk about, maybe go down memory lane a little bit with both of you. I kind of want to just ask, I'll go with Dar first and then I'll come back over to Ted. I'm just curious, maybe your favorite memory with Ted over the years training with each other.
One thing I tell a lot of kids is that he skied all the time. He skied in the mornings. I'd be there. I worked at restaurants at night. I'd go in the morning to go do some skiing, and he'd be there skiing, and the other kids were not. And him spraying me, I still remember that. He used to have a little one-piece suit.
Yeah, a little fluorescent one-piece suit. Yeah.
Right. and again, people often ask me, do you have any future Olympians? And I don't put that on them. I don't even think that for them, because the road to get there is so far and so challenging. I tried to be a good ski racer and I did fine, but I didn't back it up far enough of when I decided that I wanted to be that. And I didn't, put in all those effort and all the years, because it's through just perseverance is the only way to succeed in ski racing.
Really quick before I get to you, Ted. Dar, you keep bringing up the word perseverance. What is it about Ted? What was it about his perseverance that you saw that was so much more than everyone else? I mean, clearly he's one of the most decorated people that you've ever been able to train. And so there must have been something about him that was special.
His love of skiing. He's mentioned a couple times about his love of skiing, and he loved to be out there, and he loved to, and once he started beating the other people, he said, take a look at my rear end, because you're never going to see it again. And they didn't. I still tell my kids that. Once you break through, Ted was not the biggest kid.
Yeah.
Am I right? You were not the biggest kid on the team, and sometimes bigger kids in little kids sport have somewhat of an advantage.
Yeah.
But yet it's that you have to have a drive. You have to love to be out there. It doesn't matter. His coach Sasha told me how his first trip to Chile, got there midday, and Ted's the only one who went out skiing, and everybody's going, well, you got to rest, you got to do this. And Sasha said he doesn't remember any of the other kids' names that were at that camp. And that just tells you, how he kept after it, because it's not a road of all highs, and you have to, and I think all sports are that way.
Did your body ever break down? I mean, obviously, every athlete, their body breaks down, but did you ever think to yourself, maybe I should have taken a day off, or was it all worth it in the end?
I mean, when I was close to the end, that's when my body did break down. When I was in my 30s, I definitely had a lot of, not as many acute injuries. I blew out my knee like everybody does as a ski racer, but mine are of more of the chronic sense. And I think that's partially for me being a little bit of a hammerhead, especially when I was younger on the ski team. So yes, if I were to redo it all, I probably would have rethought of how, especially on the dryland side. I think my entire life I skied a lot of miles. One of my big goals a ski racer was I didn't want to be just a one event skier. I wanted to ski everything. That started from when I was a kid, just wanted to ski the whole mountain. And that required skiing more miles. So I think that overall was good for me, but I probably wasn't as like smart as I should have been in the gym and stuff like that, though.
We kind of got on a tangent here, and so I did
Yeah.
want to ask you still your favorite memory with Dar over the years.
Oh man, I mean it's funny because like so many of my best friends to this day I went through Dar's program with, so we like always have funny memories. I mean, whether it's like one of my like fondest memories is like going in like all these little jumps. Like there's a jump Moosehead, and like we would try to like go as far as we possibly could. And I think like if I think back to Dar's era, like I was also like I wasn't the best or the fastest or whatever, but I was probably one of the most competitive. Like
Yep.
I wanted that like Moosehead record. That's like I wanted that so badly. And they just like, I remember packing it in probably 20 times in a row, like full of just snow, and just trying to stick it out, like having to land on the flats in order to get the record. And memories like that are just like straight lining down things. Like he just like create all these little like fun competitions around the mountain, and it was, I mean, those were just like good times.
I kind of want to ask something. It's for both of you, really. When you have these incredible moments, winning gold, winning world championships, what is it like between the two of you? What is that moment like between the two of you?
You know, at the World Championships, excuse me, at Beaver Creek, you were ahead behind after the first run to Marcel Hirscher by .24. And I said, I knew he could win. I knew he could win. And I was down in the finish area and watch him come down, and it was just, I had never felt happier for another person in my whole life. I really hadn't, you know, how he had earned this, and he took it on. He took it on. And I remember it was kind of after the flower ceremony, and I, Ted, and you said, Dar, right? Kind of, he was in the finish area, and I was a little bit up in the stands, but yeah.
Yeah. And for you, I mean, what has it been like, 20 years the two of you trained together, more than that, I would say, or is that accurate, or was there
he was actually I'm like one of the few kids that actually had Dar twice.
Yep.
So it was like my first 2 years in the Park City ski team.
Yep,
so
that's right.
but like Dar's had this amazingly long career with the Park City ski team, longevity, like had so many different generations. So like I would come back to Park City and he's still around, still a mainstay. I always like joke with him that he needs to stick around. So, my kids can get the Dar experience. But just like a mainstay, like at the end of the season, like I'd give him a bunch of bibs from the races for the kids, and he'd bring over like the newspapers and sign them at the end of the year. So one of the few coaches that I had since I was a little kid that I still stay in touch with.
Last thing from me, I just wanted to ask each of you just one word to describe the relationship that you two have and the career that you two have been able to build together.
Ooh, that's one word.
One word.
On my side, it's respect. It's respect.
Yeah, gritty. I think Dar makes gritty kids.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, thank you both so much for sitting down with us today. We love seeing the camaraderie between the two of you, and it's so fun to be able to watch. So thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it.
Well, thank you. I'm blessed.
Thank you so much for watching. On Friday, we talked to a plethora of athletes and coaches ranging from soccer to softball and a whole lot more. For the entire Scoreboard team, I am Blake O'Rourke, and we will see you all on Friday.